All right, so we have a health bar, and we're not setting it except in begin play, of course, and we need to set this health bar when we take damage. So our goal is to apply damage when the drone explodes, which we can do because the drone has a reference to the character. We also want to assign an event to on take any damage in the character class, so the character can take damage and set its health variables. Now we're also going to need to set the health percent on the HUD. So in order to cause damage, our drone needs to have its own damage variable. So I'm here in the drone pawn. I'm going to add a new variable. It's going to be a float. I'm going to call this damage. Now we need to give this a default value. So I'm going to compile, and with damage selected in the details panel, we'll give this a default value. I'm going to set it to 20 for now, but we can adjust that as we need to. And so the only thing left to do is to actually cause damage and allow the character to take damage. Now, these are all things you should know how to do, so I'm going to give you a more ambitious challenge for this lecture. I'm going to ask you to implement this. Now, that's okay if you get overwhelmed. You can always just come back to the video and follow along. I'm just going to see how far you can get in implementing damage to the character. So here's a bit of a game plan for you. Call apply damage when the drone explodes. Pass in the appropriate parameters and take a look at our other call to apply damage, which we're doing in the character class. Make sure to pass in the character and pass in the damage amount. Remember, our drone does have a damage variable. And then assign an event to on take any damage in the character blueprint. And see if you can figure out how to handle changing the character's health values, and see if you can even set the percentage on the HUD. Then you can play test and see if your code works. Pause the video and give this a try. Okay, so I'm here in the drone pawn, and we need to apply damage. So I'm down here in the on component begin overlap for the explode sphere. And we're calling explode, but remember in explode, we're calling destroy actor. So if we placed our apply damage function call after explode, it'll never get called because our character will destroy itself. So we need to do this before we actually explode. So if you weren't getting any damage, that could be why. Now we're going to call apply damage. So let's get an apply damage node and hook this up. And we need to pass in the correct parameters. For one, we need a damaged actor. So hook that up. And then for base damage, we're going to pass in damage, like so. So now we're calling apply damage, but our character has no way to receive damage. So that's our next step. Let's go to FPS character. And here in begin play, we can do what we did in the drone pawn. Let's take a look at what we did there. Let's go back up to begin play. We used a bind event to on take any damage, and then we did our logic here. So let's do that here. I'm going to add another pin and drag off of this and type on take any damage. And if we recall, we could choose assign on take any damage, and that will create a custom event for us. And I'm simply going to rename this to on take damage. And now we can implement taking damage here. So what do we want to do when we take damage? Well, for one, we need to take our health. We're going to use a setter for this. We're also going to get our health and subtract away the damage. So let's go ahead and use a subtract node, subtract damage, and we'll set health to the result. Now, we're not handling death or anything like that just yet. We'll get to that. For now, let's just set our health. Now, we also want to set the percent on our HUD for our progress bar. So let's drag out our HUD. We'll get that. And from the HUD, we'll get our health bar. So we're going to get health bar. And from the health bar, we can set the percentage. So we're going to call set percent and hook that up. And what we need to hook up is the percentage of health. Remember, this is a value between 0 and 1, so it's a fraction. So we need to get our health value, divide that by max health, and hook that up. So now when our character takes damage, we'll update the HUD appropriately. All right. So let's compile this and go ahead and hit play. Now, we start off at 50% or 50 health out of 100. And when our drone causes damage to us, it should cause 20 damage. So we should go down from 50 down to 30. So let's see if that works. There we go. So our health bar went down. Let's go get damaged again and see it go down even more. There we go. So we're almost dead. That's a pretty good difficulty level, I think. 2 drones won't kill us, but a 3rd drone would. That's, of course, if we start off at 50% health, which we may or may not. Great job. Now, before we wrap this up, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that pesky message here, reflection captures need to be rebuilt. We can build the lighting of our level by going up to build and selecting build all levels. That would build all of the levels in our project, which of course we should only have this one, unless of course our asset packs contain other levels. We can also build lighting only. And for lighting quality, we can select the level of lighting quality that we like. Now, if you select production, you better be prepared to wait a few minutes because this takes a lot longer. Preview, of course, doesn't take as long. So I'm going to build the lighting only. And once we're done, it'll tell me that lighting build is completed. And now if I hit play, I no longer have a message there. So now we can see our progress bar a lot better. So our character can now get hurt. Now we're not implementing death just yet. We'll get there, one step at a time. But now our progress bar works. Great job. I'll see you soon.